when I say the word millionaire, what's the first thing that pops into your head? A fancy sports car? Maybe a giant mansion? Well, today we're going to dig into the classic book, The Millionaire Next Door, and uncover the surprising truth about who the wealthy really are. And I can promise you, it is probably not who you think. So let's get into it.
To get us started, let's play a little game. I'm going to introduce you to two different people, and I just want you to guess which one of them has a seven-figure net worth.
All right, so on one hand, we've got Mike. Mike lives in a big house, he's got a pool, drives the flashiest cars, and you'll only see him in designer brands. Now, on the other side of town, we have Natalie. She's lived in the same, kind of modest house for 15 years. She drives a used Toyota, and every single month, she spends a couple of hours carefully budgeting her family's expenses. So, who's the millionaire here? Is it Mike, or is it Natalie?
If you guessed Mike, hey, don't feel bad, most people would. But the surprising truth is, Natalie is the millionaire. And this, right here, perfectly illustrates the huge idea we're talking about today. Looking rich and being wealthy are two completely different things. So how on earth is this possible? Well, it all comes down to a fundamental misunderstanding of what wealth really is. See, we see all these signs of high consumption, the fancy stuff, and we just assume that means wealth. But the research shows us that's a massive misconception.
So here's the most crucial point. Income is not the same as wealth. Let me say that again. Income is not wealth. Income is what you earn, your paycheck. Wealth, on the other hand, is what you accumulate and what you actually keep. That's your net worth. Mike has a super high income, sure, but he spends it all. His lifestyle is all about consumption, but he has very little actual wealth to show for it. If that paycheck stopped tomorrow, he'd be in big trouble, fast. And check out this myth-busting number for you. An incredible 80% of millionaires in America are self-made. 80%. They didn't inherit their money. They built it, one smart decision at a time, usually within a single generation.
Okay, so now that we've kind of cleared the air on that big misconception, let's make this really practical. How can you, right now, measure your own progress toward building wealth? Let's look at the simple tools that these millionaires next door actually use. First up is your net worth. You can think of this as the ultimate scorecard for your financial health. And calculating it is really simple. You just add up all your assets, that's everything you own, like cash, investments, your house. Then you subtract all of your liabilities. That's everything you owe, like your mortgage, car loans, and credit card debt. Whatever's left over, that's your net worth. And remember Mike, our guy with the high income and the flashy lifestyle? Well, his assets are about $900,000, which sounds great, but his liabilities are $850,000. That leaves him with a net worth of just $50,000. For someone earning what he earns, that is a dangerously low number.
So how do you know if you're on the right track? Well, the book gives us this dead simple formula to figure out your expected net worth based on your age and income. You just multiply your age by your annual pre-tax income, and then you divide that whole thing by 10. This gives you a really good benchmark to see how you're doing compared to other people in your same boat.
Now, that little formula helps put you into one of two categories. If your actual net worth is double your expected net worth, congratulations, you're what's called a prodigious accumulator of wealth, or a PAW. If it's lower than what's expected, you're an underaccumulator of wealth, or a UAW. And the goal here, obviously, is to become a PAW.
So if you run the numbers and find out you're a UAW, don't worry. Seriously, the good news is that building wealth isn't about some secret formula. It's really about adopting the right habits. So let's break down the 4 key habits of your typical millionaire next door. The first, and honestly the most important habit, is just this. They are frugal. And frugal is not a bad word. It doesn't mean you're being cheap. It just means you're being really smart with your resources.
So what does this actually look like day to day? It's a real commitment to living below their means. They budget everything carefully, they avoid being wasteful, and they put financial security way ahead of social status. In sports terms, they play great financial defense just by controlling their spending.
Okay, habit number 2 is all about how they grow their money. Millionaires are not gamblers, they're not day traders. They are patient, long-term investors. They are absolutely playing the long game. And just look at the data on this. While 95% of them own stocks, they're not glued to the stock market ticker. Very few are active traders trying to time the market. In fact, almost a third of them hold their investments for more than 6 years. They just get it. True wealth creation takes time and a whole lot of patience.
You might be thinking that once you become a millionaire, you can just stop worrying about where every single dollar goes. But the research shows the complete opposite. They become and they stay wealthy because they budget.
And their method is really straightforward. They create both monthly and annual budgets. They know exactly what their family spends on the basics: food, housing, all of it. They set very specific goals, and this is so important, they actually dedicate serious time, about 8 hours a month, just to planning their financial future. They're intentional with their money. This last habit might be the most surprising one of all, and it perfectly captures their entire mindset. The vast majority of millionaires do not drive brand new luxury cars. No, they drive used cars.
And this chart just says it all, doesn't it? It perfectly shows the difference in priorities. While the average car buyer spends a mind-boggling 30% of their net worth on a vehicle, the typical millionaire spends only 1%. Just 1%. They see a car as transportation, not a status symbol, and they understand that buying a new car is one of the absolute fastest ways to destroy wealth. So we've covered a ton of ground here, from busting all those myths about wealth to outlining the specific habits that actually build it. Let's bring it all home and map out your path forward.
Here's the game plan, okay? First, just burn this into your brain. Income is not wealth. Second, go calculate your net worth so you know exactly where you stand today. Third, use that little formula to see if you're a prodigious accumulator or an under-accumulator of wealth. And finally, start adopting those 4 core habits. Be frugal, invest for the long haul, budget like you mean it, and think 3 times before buying a brand new car.
I'll leave you with this really powerful quote from the book. It's a great reminder that building wealth isn't really about luck or being a genius. It's about discipline. It's about focus and a relentless commitment to your goals.
And that brings us to the final and most critical question that you have to ask yourself. In your own financial life, are you playing to look rich or are you playing to be wealthy? The choice is all yours. Thanks for tuning in.